Hey guys, welcome back to Anchored at Harbor Park. I'm your host, Jason Ewell. I'm here with Amy today. This is always a funner episode because it's a little bit controversial. Before we get into that, Amy, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Amy. I started at Harbor Park about a year ago. So yeah, I've just been coming ever since and I love it.
Cool. So the reason why I said it's kind of controversial is because, you started about a year ago, but then you had to take some time off because you had a pretty serious injury. Injured your spine, right? And neck and spinal. I'll let you.
Neck and upper back.
Okay, so I'll let you actually say what happened.
Okay, so I was doing box squats one day, and so I was just lifting, and all of a sudden I was coming up from the back squat and heard a bunch of pops. So I re-racked it, I stepped back, and I pretty much was like, I can't move.
Right.
So I waited a while before I went to the chiropractor because I didn't know if maybe it would go away. So I ended up making a chiropractic appointment because the doctor was taking too long to get into. So I did that, and he wasn't going to read my x-ray right away, and I said, oh no, I can't move. I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't do anything really. So he was like, all right, I'll read it today, because he saw how much pain I was in. And so he came out of the x-ray room, and he was like putting me on the machine, and he's like, stop that machine right now. So then I knew I did something pretty bad. So he took me off the machine, he took me in the room, and told me that I fractured my C7 and my T1. So one in the neck, one in the back. So I fractured the bone off, so it's floating in my shoulder. So they just said, good thing is no surgery, because they can't really repair the bone.
Right.
And I can't become paralyzed from it. So that was a good thing about it, but they said it's a very long recovery.
Right.
So they said at least 18 months.
So that's kind of why I wanted to talk with you today, because most people would hear that they broke their neck, and then they kind of go on the shelf and be like, I can't do anything, I can't move, my neck's broken. But you didn't have that mindset. As a matter of fact, you told the doctor that you can't just sit around, you have to get right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your mindset going through that and getting back to the gym as fast as you could.
Well, I really enjoy coming here, so I pretty much to the chiropractor one back every time I went in, and he's like, you need to give it more time, but we'll get you back, because I know that's your main goal. So I was a little depressed for a while I couldn't, because I wasn't allowed to lift it 50 pounds for a long time. So after 6 months, it's feeling a little bit better, and he was actually very impressed that it was, because usually injury takes a really long time to heal, but you seem to be doing better than we thought, which they've never heard of injury happening from CrossFit before.
Okay.
So it was a kind of a new thing for them. We've only heard happening to somebody that got in a car accident and they got whiplash really bad. Right. So, but they're talk to everybody, all the chiropractors we know, and they've never heard of it. And I actually went to a back surgeon too, and he said the same thing. Yep. So they both were kind of saying the same thing with recovery time and everything. So ultimately it was supposed to be 18 months, and I was back after 6.5. So.
That's awesome. But with that being said, you were super anxious to get back, and that positive mindset, personally, I believe that helps you heal. If you're negative about it, it's going to take longer. If you're positive, I think your body knows that and accounts for that. But at the same time, we didn't just throw you back into class, right?
No.
We have to be very smart about how we handle this.
Yeah.
Because technically your spine still is fractured. So tell us kind of about like your routine. Do you do anything extra before or after working out just to make sure you're not you're pushing yourself too hard, or tell us about actual workouts?
The workouts, I just have to usually scale them, and when I first came back, there was a limit of no more than like 10, 15 pounds. So each time he would ask me, you know, how I was doing, how it felt. He said, as long as there's not that sharp pinch, you're fine. I had a lot of pressure in the shoulder blade, so I just try and work it out a lot, stretch it.
So like extra mobility stuff?
Yeah, a lot of extra mobility up at the top of the back and the neck. Other than that, I just kind of take it slow. You know, 5 pounds at a time, adding on if I'm adding on. I know overhead is a little bit more difficult because the mobility in this arm isn't.
It's a little bit limited, yeah.
So.
And that's I mean, that's what we have to constantly remind people is this isn't like a race. You know, this is the goal is to do this just to stay in shape for life, right? So we're not in. I mean, everyone wants to get stronger and put more weight on the bar, but you know, we got a while to kind of play with this. It's not like we have to get to our max weight tomorrow. You know, we can take it as a nice step-by-step journey.
Yeah, I just don't want to re-injure it.
Right,
so
exactly.
That's why I think
that's so much more important than putting a lot of weight on the bar.
Right.
No, I think it's awesome that even though you had this traumatic injury, you know, is you know, potentially life-threatening. The doctor said it wasn't, but you know, at first I thought it might have been.
It'll always be there, though.
Right.
It'll always be broke. So.
But you still have this awesome mindset about it. You're positive. You don't want to stop. So, can you just say something to like anyone who thinks like their situation is like hopeless, like they can't do anything? Like, what would you say to those guys just to kind of try to show them
I would
that?
say, you just have the mindset of that you can do it. Like it happens. There's nothing you can do to reverse it.
Right.
So just go with it. I know at first I was very upset that I got injured, so it was very hard for me to be like, oh, I can only lift 10 pounds because I saw everybody else lifting so much more.
And you were doing more than that
and
beforehand.
And it was really frustrating.
Right.
But at the same time, you just have to keep going and just believe that you can do it.
Right.
And just take it slow.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, we're going to wrap up there. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Harbor Park CrossFit. Same thing for Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to follow us and you'll get notified every time these awesome videos come out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good job. See, that wasn't so bad.